How to Become a Millionaire by 2025. I mean, that is a heck of a headline, right? It sounds almost too good to be true, but with the clock ticking, you gotta ask the question, is a goal like that just a total pipe dream, or is there an actual repeatable blueprint that people can follow? Is it possible that the path to seven figures isn't some crazy secret, but just a series of deliberate, well-understood steps? What's wild is that when you start digging into the advice from self-made millionaires who come from totally different worlds, I'm talking people like Alex Hormozy, Cody Sanchez, Myron Golden, Donnie Wiggins, you start to see this incredible pattern emerge. They're all kind of pointing to the same core ideas. And that pattern, that whole journey, it doesn't start with a business plan or some hot stock tip. No, it starts way deeper than that. The entire thing really comes down to one single foundational shift that has to happen first, inside you. So let's get into it. This is the bedrock. The journey to $1 million doesn't start with what you do. It starts with who you are. Before you can ever make that kind of money, you have to actually become the person who is capable of making it, keeping it, and most importantly, growing it. And look, this isn't about just thinking positive thoughts. For an entrepreneur like Donnie Wiggins, this shift was forged in a moment of absolute crisis. Facing foreclosure, she looked at her daughter and made that promise. That wasn't a goal. That was a non-negotiable commitment. It became her why, the rocket fuel that powered every single decision she made from that day on. Myron Golden, he really doesn't pull any punches here. He says the difference between the wealthy and the poor isn't what's in their bank account. It's what's in their daily habits and their core beliefs. You see, one group over here spending their time on education, building skills, fostering relationships, things that are assets, things that grow over time. The other group, they're prioritizing entertainment and consumption. It's a fundamental choice you make every single day about where your energy goes. So how do you actually engineer this shift? Well, here is a fascinating, super practical tool from Afnan Khalifa. You create an alter ego. Before she gets on stage, she's not just Afnan. She becomes the Afnan Khalifa, this version of herself that is completely bold, totally confident, and powerful. It's a real, tangible way to step into the identity you need to have to win. And this idea from Natalie Dawson? It just flips the whole concept of networking on its head. The point isn't to chase down your heroes and get a selfie. The real goal is to become the type of person they would be excited to meet, to build the skills, the habits, and create the value that makes you appear. That's when the doors really start to open. All right, so once you have that powerful mindset as your foundation, you're ready to start building the framework. Now we need the actual tools that turn that belief into real cash flow. We're talking about the high-value skills that create actual worth in the marketplace. And Alex Hormozy just lays this out brilliantly. It's a completely logical progression. Step 1, you learn how to persuade one person at a time. That's sales. Then you learn how to persuade many people at once. That's marketing. And if you can do both of those things, you've mastered customer acquisition, which is arguably the single most valuable skill in all of business. Each skill just stacks on top of the last one, making you exponentially more valuable. And these big skills, they're not magic. They're built out of all these smaller, crucial sub-skills, the little details that really matter. We're talking about things like active listening or how to write a headline that makes people click. Afnan Khalifa credits learning how to read the room when she was a waitress for literally millions of dollars in her later success. These aren't abstract ideas. They are practical, learnable actions that become the bedrock of $1 million skill set. Okay, mindset, check. Skills, you're building them. Now you need a vehicle. You need a business model or an investment strategy to actually channel all that energy and ability towards that $1 million goal. And right here is where we have to shatter a huge myth. Cody Sanchez just delivers this gut punch of a quote. See, everyone's out there chasing the glamorous, sexy startup idea. But she argues the real money, the serious money, is often in boring businesses. I'm talking laundromats, waste management, specialized B2B services. And why is that? Because they're essential, they have way less competition, and they often have insane profit margins. So this slide really lays out the fundamental choice you have to make. You've basically got 3 distinct, proven paths. You've got Cody Sanchez's boring business model. Then there's the strategy of jumping into a high-growth industry, which Natalie Dawson recommends. And then, for those with a steady 9-to-5, you've got Dave Ramsey's classic disciplined approach. Get totally debt-free and just invest 15% of your income consistently, no matter what. You have to pick the one that fits you
and then you have to stick to it. Now, for anyone leaning towards that high-growth vehicle, the data is pretty clear. Natalie Dawson points to these specific markets that have massive tailwinds right now. We're talking about things like pet care, health and wellness, sustainable products, and especially anything related to AI services. I mean, starting a business in a market that's already growing is like trying to sail with the wind at your back instead of in your face. But remember, just picking your vehicle, that's not the final step. Not even close. To actually get to $1 million, you have to follow the rules of the road. These are the core principles that power the engine and, more importantly, keep you from crashing and burning. Alex Hormozy has this brilliant analogy. He says your environment is either a lubricant for your goals or it's friction. You have to be absolutely ruthless about architecting your surroundings to make focused work easy and to make getting distracted hard. Yeah, that might mean deleting the apps, silencing the notifications, and maybe even changing who you hang out with on the weekends. This right here, this might be the most important rule of all. The absolute magic of growth, whether it's in your skills, your business, your investments, is compounding. But here's the catch. It only works if you let it work. The biggest mistake people make is they start something, they get a little frustrated, and then they jump to the next shiny object. They are constantly interrupting their own compounding, so they never build any real momentum. And this chart shows you exactly why you can't interrupt it. Pretty much every successful journey follows this exact path. You start way up here with high, uninformed optimism. Then reality hits, and you just plunge down into what's called the Valley of Despair. This is the point where 99% of people quit. So the blueprint, the real secret, is knowing this valley is coming and understanding that pushing your way through it is the path to success. You know, you've probably heard your network is your net worth a million times, but Cody Sanchez puts it in a way that just hits different. You have to get into rooms, whether that's physically or virtually, where the people around you are just playing a much, much bigger game. When you surround yourself with people for whom your ultimate dream is just their normal Tuesday, it fundamentally recalibrates your own sense of what's possible. Ultimately, this is the secret to actually doing the work. It's not about one single heroic leap. It's about the relentless accumulation of small, correct actions day in and day out. If you consistently stack enough of the right actions, one on top of the other, success stops being something you hope for and it becomes an inevitability. And after all of that, the mindset, the skills, the vehicle, the rules of growth, you might look at this number on the screen and think that this is the real prize. You might think this is the goal, but it's not. See, the $1 million is just the scorecard. It's just the receipt. The real reward, the actual prize, is the person you had to become to achieve it. The skills you built, the discipline you forged, the value you created for others. That transformation is the real wealth. So the only question left to ask is, who will you decide to become starting tomorrow?